Shelley Witzer Show. Live, local, topical, and relevant. Having fun. I'm calmed down. I apologize, ladies and gentlemen. I calmed down. I get upset. I'm emotional. It is what it is. So let me tell you the story. Everybody hold on. Let me tell you the story. And it's a real story. And I understand it, right? Because I see it, especially from my married friends. And they don't talk about it, but you can see it on their faces. Here's the headline. 7 in 10 men say a provider. 7 in 10 men say being a provider is harder than it was for their father's generation. Now, that's relative, right? Because our dads, depending on how old you are, our dads could have had it really bad, depending on where you're from, your perspective. But 7 in 10 men say being a provider is harder now than it was for their father's generation. More than half of men surveyed said financial struggles have made them feel like they're falling short of being a man. And 70% said it's harder to fulfill the breadwinner role today than it was for their parents' generation. Over a third of men said money worries negatively affect their mental health every day. With Generation Z, men are nearly 3 times more likely than baby boomers to report that daily impact. Nearly 3/4 of men believe society expects them to handle financial stress in silence, and 58% said that pressure has left them feeling isolated. Now, let me tell you the ramifications of that. What happens when you see this, right? It impacting mental health, putting stress on men, wanting to be, having to be, being raised to be the breadwinner, the provider. That's what men do. And for these men, they're saying the financial strain of being that breadwinner and provider in today's world is tough, and it's putting a strain on them. More than 2,000 men split across generations. 7 in 10 said that living up to that standard today is harder than it was for their parents. Men pointed to the cost of living rising faster than wages, shortage of affordable housing, economic uncertainty, and increasing job instability as the main forces working against them. So what happens when a man who wants to be and is trained to be and raised to be and knows he's supposed to be the breadwinner, what happens when that stress overtakes him and he can't handle it? What happens when he doesn't deal with it with a professional therapist, which he probably can't afford because he may be under financial strain? What happens when he keeps it bottled up? It explodes in rage. You have more domestic violence. You have more violence against women, which is what we're seeing. They call it femicide. You see it going on right now. What also happens is you have the deterioration of the family, which is already going on, but it continues and it spirals out of control because more women feeling that kind of stress, feeling that the man can't provide, he's under stress that he can't provide, and they split. They go their separate ways. The kids are caught in the middle, and you have breakups of the family. Add to that you have a generation, I'm not blaming women now, I'm just telling you the facts. Add to that you have a generation of women who are looking for men to be providers, which is what they're supposed to do. And they're saying, what do you bring to the table? The man says, I'm bringing this to the table. The woman says, I'm bringing this to the table, but the man is still supposed to provide, which is natural because that's the way we were raised. But what happens when you have some women who say, oh, you can't provide anymore? I'm out. That adds to the strain, that adds to the stress, that adds to the potential for domestic violence. It adds to the potential for more violence in the home. And you have a society being splintered politically, a society being splintered racially, a society being splintered along gender lines. And now that society, those splinters, those divides in that society now coming all the way down and into the home. What is the answer? I can talk about it all day, but what is the answer? Well, possibly the answer is getting more therapy, encouraging men to seek conversations with professional therapists, getting men, I would suggest, off of social media, having to look at other men who may be flashing cash, you don't know if it's real or not, and putting even more pressure on you. You're seeing a guy, why don't I have that? And putting more pressure, more financial pressure, more mental stress on you. And having more conversations with our counterparts on the other side, meaning women, about what's realistic in today's world. There are men out there doing very well. But in a world where men, as you can see, 7 in 10 are say it's stressful to their mental health to be the provider in this type of world, the men that are doing well are not trying to settle down. Why would they? They're in a catbird seat. So as you navigate this world, I think we have to have more conversations between men and women about what's realistic, what's going on, what's more real, what's the realistic way of looking at this world that we live in right now. These arguments that I see on social media about 50-50 and who pays what and who pays what. Well, if there's love involved, we cover what we can. If the man is trying to provide but possibly can't in some ways, and help relieving that stress. The good ones do it. Do they have to do it all the time? No, they shouldn't have to do it all the time. But if your man is stressed being the breadwinner, how can you help? Doesn't mean money. Maybe it means a hot meal on a Friday night. Maybe it means his feet rubbed. Maybe it means a bubble bath. Whatever it means to you, whatever it means to him. But to just wait and let that man suffer in silence. And all he's suffering from is the fact that, hey, I was raised to be the breadwinner. I was raised to provide for my family. And it's getting increasingly harder to do that. And because it's getting increasingly harder to do that, I'm under more and more mental stress. Baby, help me. Not financially. Just help me deal with the stress. Don't add to the stress, but help me deal with the stress. So my solutions, let's encourage men to talk to therapists privately, by themselves. Let's encourage men to talk to each other about it. And let's encourage our women to help our men however they possibly can when they love them. I'm not asking perfect strangers to help other perfect strangers. I'm talking about those in relationships. If you're in love with your man and you see him under a strain because he was raised to be a man, help him. It's okay. Help him. It's the Shelley Winter Show. 404-872-0750. 1-800-WSB-TALK. We'll be right back.